Welcome to this episode of Doug Has Questions. Today, my guest is lifelong Haines resident and newly minted Alaska Tribal Administrator of the Year, Harriet Brouillette. Welcome, Harriet.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us to share your family story here in Haines.
Right. I'm happy to be here. Happy to share.
Awesome. So let's go back pre-Harriet. Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad.
What can you tell us about Mom and Dad?
I think that story probably starts with my dad. His family's been here since time immemorial.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandparents and great-grandparents and so on are buried here, mostly at Yendesteki.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was born in the Fort Hospital. And I should probably back up even more.
Back up as far as you want.
Okay, well,
We have plenty of memory on these cards, and a lot of people give me a bad time that these are too long. I don't care what they say; it's however long it takes to tell your story.
yeah. Lee Miller is telling me he took forever to tell the story, but that's Lee. But my Brouillette grandfather, we can trace his bloodline back to Avignon in France, and he has Joan of Arc in his family tree.
Dang.
No, luckily we have a cousin who is retired, and she did all of this work, so she's got mounds and mounds of information about our family, and I haven't even scratched the surface. But I do know that my Brouillette family landed on the east coast of the U.S. or of Canada in the 1700s, and when the French and Indian Wars started, they moved down south, and a lot of our family went down to Louisiana. And there's a little township there called Brouillette.
Really?
Yeah, and I went to visit it 2 years ago. It's
what part of Louisiana?
It is right outside of Baton Rouge.
Okay.
So you kind of go west from Baton Rouge and find it. It's just a sign, basically. There is a gas station and grocery store there.
Okay.
And a young man who does a lot of hunting. And he makes his own sausage and processes meat and all, that kind of stuff. And he was so much fun, though, when he found out what my last name was.
I bet.
Yeah, so every time anyone came in the store, he'd say, that's a Brouillette. Yeah.
Did you ask, are there Brouillettes still in the area?
Yeah. Yeah, there were, but we weren't there for very long. I was there for work, actually. And it just kind of worked out that I like to do a little bit of research on where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at the map, and it's like, hey.
That name looks familiar.
Yeah. So there is an old school, a park, and a few other things that have our name on them, and I just kind of thought, well, I'll just do a quick drive-through and see what I can see.
Nice.
It was interesting and fun, but
yeah, well, it's a nice connection back to past generations.
Yeah. So, but my grandfather went west to the area around Idaho instead of south with everyone else, and my great-grandfather, Maximilian, his name was Maximilian, and his wife was named Evangeline, and they had a whole bunch of boys. I can't remember, like 5 or 6 boys and 1 girl. And my grandfather was the youngest. And because he was the youngest, he was supposed to enter the monastery, because it was a Catholic family.
Okay.
And his brother told him, you don't want to do that. He agreed. He didn't want to do it. So the way that my uncle told me is that they gave him a fast horse and sent him west, and he ended up coming up to Alaska as a packer for Jack Dalton.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So when he arrived
So
here,
instead of the monastery, he's packing for Jack Dalton. That's it's quite a difference in vocations, I would say.
not really, because my great grandfather was a horse trader.
Okay.
So he traded horses back and forth across the border between Idaho and Canada. He had a contract for carriage or stagecoach
Okay.
contract.
Yep.
And,
So he was supplying the horses for the stagecoach?
yeah, and if you look up Maximilian on the internet, he's from, oh gosh, my dad would just shoot me if he knew I couldn't remember this. A really tiny town in Idaho. I'll shout it out if I remember it.
Okay.
But he was very famous for his horses. So every year they'd have this horse race around this somewhere in Idaho, and he was like the dude who would bring the fast horses.
He was the guy to beat, huh?
Yeah, so that was kind of where the whole horse thing came in our family.
I'm gonna say you came by your love of horses honestly. It was passed down in the genes.
Yeah. Yes, my grandmother always told me that too. It's in your genes.
It's in your genes.
Yeah, so my grandfather, when he showed up here, met my grandmother Mary, and my grandmother Mary, her mother had sent my grandmother and her brother to Chemawa School in
Down in Oregon.
in Oregon, right? When she was 5, they sent her there.
That school's been around that long?
It was one of the first.
It was one of the first ones that they were. Dang, I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, so she was in Oregon the majority of her childhood until she was 18 and graduated, and then she could come home. So I'm sure that Haines was culture shock to her going from Portland to
Yeah.
Haines, Alaska. And
Do you know what age she was when they sent her to the school?
5.
So she was
5.
Gone for 13 years. Seriously.
Yeah.
Because now we look at boarding schools now and they'll go for the semester, but I mean the travel obviously back then was much different than it is
Right.
today.
Yeah,
But from 5 till 18,
right.
they're at a boarding school. And was this, because you and I, we'll get this part later on this, when we're talking the street signs and stuff in Haines about the culture being, they're taught to forget their native heritage, their native culture. Was that something that she went through
Yeah.
at school?
Yes.
So that 13 years, she was like, no Tlingit culture.
Right. She came home, and my dad said she had no idea how to cook a fish, or to hunt or garden or any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
They sent her back. My grandmother and grandfather had a grocery store here, the Hinchman store, so they had a little bit of money, and they could send her money for clothes and things like that. So she came back, and my dad said that she came back as a high stepper, which means she dressed really nice. She had the cute little leather gloves and the big wool collar jackets, and we still have some of her luggage in the 3 Mile house.
Really?
Yeah. It was, yeah. So I imagine that when she stepped off the ship, it was probably major culture shock.
Yeah.
But she somehow met my grandfather, and they married, and they had 2 boys. And then my grandfather went to Europe during the First World War, and he was gone for a few years. And grandmother said that she was basically by herself with 2
Yeah.
little boys,
Yeah.
and she wasn't the only person.
It happened a lot during those years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she was by herself for quite a while. I can't even imagine, 2 little boys and by yourself. And when he finally came home, my Uncle Jim said that they didn't know who he was.
No.
They didn't have a memory of who he was. So they ran into the living room and hid underneath the furniture because they were scared. They had never, this man in their house. They had no idea.
Yeah, you think about that as you're telling that, the thing that strikes me about that compared to where we are now, there might have been occasional letters coming home, but just that now they go on deployment for a certain number of months, come home, might go back on another deployment. But they were over there until everything was over, unless they had a catastrophic injury, something like that. And yeah, for years, and no FaceTime, no phone calls. So you can totally see how those boys would have depending on how old they were when he left.
Right. They
have no recollection of that.
Right. They didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
And so my dad was the third child.
Okay.
So my grandparents were a little older when he was born. He was kind of late in life baby, after the war baby.
Post-war baby.
Yes. And he was spoiled rotten, according to my uncles. He was 11 years younger than his next brother.
Okay.
So there's
a significant gap there.
Yeah. Yeah. So he basically just took care of his parents because they were aging by then. And my grandfather had he had rheumatoid arthritis, and he had very serious rheumatoid arthritis, so he couldn't move. And I think he was in his 40s when, maybe he was older than that. I'm trying to make the math all work out. But my dad had a little tiny fishing boat, and he took my grandparents to Tanakee because he heard that soaking him in the mineral water would relieve his pain.
Okay, yeah.
So Oli Tog, who lives here now, his father told me that his first memory of Dad in Tanakee was seeing this young teenager carrying his father. He had to carry him.
To the springs.
Yeah, and then he would just soak him in the spring and hoping.
That is dedication for a teenager to go from Haines to Tanakee with the travel, with a small fishing boat.
Yeah, I imagine it was probably a couple knots an hour.
Yeah.
Chugging along.
Yeah.
Yes.
That totally fits what I knew of your dad from the time that I knew him. I could totally see him doing that.
Yeah, it's a gentle soul for sure.
Yep.
Right, and just he was there for a summer, and then grandfather ended up declining, and they took him to Juneau to the hospital with St. Anne's? It was St. Anne's Hospital.
Sounds like, yeah.
And he passed away in Juneau, and they couldn't afford to bring him home, so they have buried him in Juneau, which it makes it kind of difficult for us. Just he's buried by himself in Juneau, and it just seems not right. But
can we bring him back?
Probably. This is another story that my grandmother, the Hinchman grandmother, Louise Hinchman, when I don't know that my father had any memory. He might have been around 4, but she was sent to the sanitarium in Oregon. It was called Morningside. So there are a lot of stories about Morningside now because that's where the folks from Alaska were sent if they had chronic illness.
Okay.
And they called it a sanitarium back then, but they sent her there when my dad was very, very young, and she was there for quite a few years. And I'm thinking it was 13 years, which is ironic. But she was buried there. She never did get to come back home. And my cousin, who is an anthropologist, found her her grave.
Really?
And he had her repatriated and brought her
Yeah.
home. So now she is out at Yendestucky. So we did that, gosh, was that before COVID? You said it was before COVID.
Before COVID?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my first granddaughter was just a toddler. That's how I tell time now. Yeah, so he was determined to bring her home, so he did.
Good.
Very, very grateful that he did.
Yeah. Yeah, back with the rest of the family.
Mm-hmm. Yendestucky. Yeah, so
I think that would be cool if there was a way to get your grandpa back from Juneau.
I think there would be
Yendestucky.
too. Yeah, I'll honestly, my grandfather Brouillette was prejudice.
Oh, really? So
Believe it or not.
Yendestucky would not be the place for him?
No, his spirit would be kicked out.
There's closer places than Yendestucky that would be more suitable then.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So how do you think he would react now that his granddaughter is tribal administrator for a native corporation?
I always wonder. I wonder about that. Yeah, Dad told me some stories of some of the things that his dad did, and I just think, oh my gosh, how did my grandmother manage that?
Mm-hmm.
I know she was very light-skinned, so she back then, if you could pass for white, you did.
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even when my dad was born, on his birth certificate, and when it says where it says race, it says white.
Really?
Yeah, they thought they were doing my
Him a favor?
Yeah, they were doing him
Yeah.
a favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember why I was looking through his stuff, but I pulled out his birth certificate and it said white on it, and I was, Dad, you lied to me.
You like me?
What's going on? So, he
My whole life is a lie.
Yeah. That was about how I was feeling too, and he was just really casual, like, oh, they thought they were doing my parents a favor.
Yeah. And at the time they probably were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So my grandfather wasn't exactly popular with the native crowd,
Yeah.
and he didn't care.
I know people like I'm not having met your grandfather, but how you're describing it right now,
Mm-hmm.
I know people that are probably pretty similar to him, and you're right, they usually don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that when when I was growing up, my dad did not have a cruel word to say about him.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I think the last couple of years of Dad's life that he finally would say, this happened, just because he thought we needed to know, so we weren't living in ignorant bliss about our grandfather.
Yeah.
And he was never cruel to his wife, which was odd because she was obviously native, and his mother-in-law.
Isn't that interesting that a person can have those beliefs, but they can still love somebody?
Mm-hmm.
That's always fascinated me when you look back at colonial United States, where in the South you had these slave owners that were having kids with the slaves, and the way that they would treat the slaves, and it's just how they compartmentalize that
Right.
in their mind has always been fascinating to me. It'd be nice to ask them, how do you reconcile this?
Right. Right. Yeah.
To treat somebody so poorly in one that's the exact same racial makeup, treat them so poorly because they're this person, but another person is exactly the same. Love them and cherish them and create a family with them, and just that, I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't either. I think
Very fascinating to me.
Dad told us about the time that baseball was a big deal around here, and his dad was a pitcher, and Skundu was watching the game, and he said his dad turned around and threw the ball really hard and it hit Skundu. And it was devastating for me to hear that, like, because my great uncle is somebody I cherish.
Yeah.
And it made my dad cry, which made me cry, and we were all like, oh gosh, Grandpa's a jerk. But yeah, Dad just said that's just. He asked why, and why would you do that? And he said, well, I did it because he was putting a hex on me. Yeah, and I said, do you think he really believed that he was being hexed? And
or were his pitches? Was he just not on with his pitching that day?
He said that from what I understand, he just spun around and threw the ball at him. Yeah, and I asked my dad, like, what, like, why? And he just said because he was a racist, and that was his excuse.
Yeah, you always find an excuse for your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he married the man's niece. Yeah, I don't get. Yeah, it's just craziness.
Yep.
But moving on though, my dad went to, or he was in the Second World War, and we always thought, oh, he's such a hero, tall, dark, and handsome hero. He had to be a war hero too. And we were all sitting around the table. We were probably junior high-ish, and asked finally, well, tell us about your experience, Dad? And he told us about, not being sure where he was going, and at first he thought he was going to be sent north. And they decided that he would go south, and he didn't know that. He just said he was on this train, and it just kept getting warmer, and then he realized he was heading south instead of north. He ended up in Panama.
Really?
So yeah, he ended up, and I, of course, he's going to kick me again because I cannot remember the name of the camp or what lock.
Okay.
He would always tell me what lock he was at.
Mm-hmm.
And he and his friend from Hoona, his last name was Greenwall. We used to visit him in Washington, but Greenwall and Dad took a rowboat and went through the locks.
Really?
Yeah, just
for something like
something to do. Yeah.
So they were down there guarding the locks during the war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. And they found out I was from Alaska and I knew how to fish, so they put me in charge of the fishing boat, and I would just take the officers out fishing. Nice. I know, but there goes the whole fantasy that we had about our hero dad,
Well, not everybody that is a hero is facing bullets. There's many ways to support the effort that don't involve that.
Right, that's true.
And if he had been sent over there, the outcome might have been different.
You're right.
Like, it's more that not necessarily what he did during the war, but the fact that he survived and came home.
Right. Very grateful for that.
Yep.
And
like any of our soldiers from whatever conflict that come home, we're always extremely lucky to have all of them.
I agree. Yeah, and I think that having him in Panama shielded him from a lot of other things that could have changed his psyche in some way or another.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Instead, he came home talking about this horse that he befriended that kept biting him, and the raccoon that he'd give sugar cookies, and he'd wash the cookies and they'd all dissolve. So all the stories.
Wait, he befriended a horse and the horse kept biting him?
Yeah, we have pictures of him standing with his horse.
With the horse?
Yeah. Yeah, and
sounds like it might have been a one-way friendship here.
Yeah, probably. But he kept trying to take the
kept working on it.
There
and yet he still let you have horses later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty.
I didn't have a choice.
You didn't have a choice?
No, I got my first horse when I was 5, and it just he came home from, I don't know where he was. It was summer, so he was probably at the boat harbor.
Uh-huh.
And he said I could hear him and my mother in the kitchen, and my sisters and I were outside, and he was saying, well, I guess I bought a horse.
I guess I bought a horse.
So we had to go up to Champaign and pick it up. And there, back then we didn't have truck or anything.
That was a
like
journey
that.
to get to Champaign.
Yeah, on an unpaved road.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad's 50-something Chevy, a big boat of a car, the big bubble fenders and everything. And then the only trailer he could find was somebody's old wood trailer.
Okay.
So he put sides on it, and he put a pole on the back of his sedan, and put the horse in the back of the sedan, and he kept driving it around the field just to see if he could make it home in the back of that
wood
weirdo trailer. And Alec Van Bibber was the man who owned the Champaign, the ranch there.
Yep.
And he's like, no, we're just gonna drive down there. They threw 2 extra horses in, along with what was supposed to be my brother's horse, and drove down to Haines, and they had cow hands with them, or horse hands, whatever they are.
Yeah.
And they came down for the weekend, and they built us a corral in like a day, cleaned out our barn, and poof.
Poof. Horses.
Yeah.
So he went up for 1, he came back with 3? Mm-hmm. What was your mom thinking about that? She's like, what happened to I might have bought a horse.
I think that she was, see, my mom's from Kake.
Okay.
Never seen a horse
Never
before.
seen a horse?
No. So
like, what the heck did I get into?
She was interested.
Yeah.
She was like, well, let's see what these horse things.
So with your dad growing up in Haines and your mom from Kake, how did they meet?
Well, when my dad got back from the war, Panama, he took advantage of the GI Bill, and he went to St. Martin's College in Lacey, Washington, and came back to teach in Haines. And he taught when Mr. John was the principal.
Bill John?
Yeah. Yes. So.
Yeah, my dad told me a lot of stories about hunting with Bill John.
Yeah. Well, he gave my dad his first teaching job. And then Dad decided that he wanted to work for BIA, and they had all these BIA schools around Alaska. So one of the schools that he went to, the first one he went to was Kake.
Okay.
And he said that there really wasn't a way to get a vehicle there or anything, or any sort of transportation. So he had a Harley, an old Harley, and it was like a real, or maybe it wasn't Harley, it was a German. I think maybe it was a German bike. Not sure. But all I know is that it was really noisy, because there are people in Kake who still remember it. So he said he got off the ferry in Petersburg on his way to Kake. It took his motorcycle for a rip from the ferry into town, and he said all the kids were out running out to the street.
Right after the bike.
I had to take a look at that cool bike. So he got to Kake, and my mother was working at the grocery store there, and she, I think she was in her early 20s, and she was on her way to that fall, or it wasn't that fall, it must have been the following year. She was on her way to nursing school, and she met my dad, and she met him because my oldest brother, Robert, was living with Dad then, and he would go to the store and ask if he could put a popsicle on the charge card. So my mom just let him. She said, he was so cute, I couldn't say no. So he would come in and give her the eyebrows. And ask to charge a popsicle. So Dad said that he got this bill, and it was a bunch of charges for popsicles. So he said he went marching down to that grocery store with that bill, and Mom was there,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like,
He was intent on chewing somebody out, but just changed topic when
Yeah.
he saw your mom.
yes, so they started dating, and it was Cake in the 1960s. So I asked him, so what did you do on a date? What
Yeah.
did you do? He said that he took her on picnics and she rode the hot rod bike,
Okay.
and they would go out to the end of the road. It was probably not very far
Yep.
back in those days, but yeah, he said he knew how to cook one thing, and it was a steak, and he just swept her off her feet with that one
Nice.
meal.
Yeah.
And I thought,
I think it was more than the steak. It was probably his personality as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
hard not to
I'm-
like your dad.
I'm sure it was, but he's kind of funny. He was trying to say he charmed her with his cooking, and I know better. Well, when Mom was traveling and Dad had to look after us, we all were just like, "Ugh, we're all gonna die," because he would make us pancakes in the morning and always burned them. And then he came home and he's like, "Well, what should we have for dinner?" And we're like, And the one memory I have is he was like, "Well, you all like mac and cheese," and
Yeah.
so he made some macaroni and he cubed up cheese and threw it in there, and that was our
That was the mac and cheese?
Okay.
My dad's go-to when my mom would travel for Sarah and I, it was chili, hot dogs, eggs, and fried potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
We could pretty much count on that.
Mm-hmm.
Most nights, if not all nights, while my mom was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
It was, but that was Sarah and I knew what we were getting when Mom left.
Oh, you didn't get Spam? We got Spam.
Occasionally, we got Spam.
Yeah.
There was some fried Spam.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because you could do
It was
fried
good.
Spam with fried potatoes, and boom, dinner.
Yeah.
And couldn't cry.
Ours, I think, was usually the fried Spam and eggs. I don't know if we did the potatoes with it, but yeah, a little fried Spam in there.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I haven't had Spam for forever. I
You
might have
gotta-
to. I might have to pop open a can here now that we're talking about it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, relive those childhood memories of Spam.
Spam is plentiful in Hawaii.
Yes.
Well, you can get some Spam there. So, which reminds me, my mom's grandfather was from Hawaii, and he ended up in Alaska on a whaling ship, and his last name then was Kaleli, and somehow he ended up at Sheldon Jackson's college, and they changed his name to Jackson. So I don't know. Some of that story we're missing big pieces of it, but
Big chunk, but there's a lot of really cool spots in there.
Mm-hmm.
Harriet, Joan of Arc, a town named after your family in Louisiana. Your dad's in Panama. You've got relatives that were working for Jack Dalton and other on whaling ships out of Hawaii. And there's like a movie in this, Harriet. This is an amazing backstory. And we haven't even gotten to you yet.
yeah, you know what? I thought everyone's life was like mine. Just so we found out that our grandfather was from the east side of Oahu, and that's kind of where I learned that that's where a lot of the local people live, and it's where it's kind of rough, and they don't like outsiders there. So I was, I kind of want to go, but I kind of don't, you know.
Have you, when you guys have done those exchanges where they've had the Hawaiian canoes and stuff, have you talked to them about your history?
Yeah.
Have they filled you in kind of on maybe where your family would have been
Yeah.
from in Hawaii?
Yeah. Yes.
See, you already have an in.
So we have, one of the captains, because James and Ted were both on that boat, one of the captains told us that that he thought that we should be sending our grandkids to, or my grandkids, to the school in Hawaii, and that we would just have to do a DNA test, and and then we could prove that we have Polynesian blood, and they would be able to get into the school. But I think that's a dream. The kids are getting a lot older now. They were there when they were little, before they started school. Ted and Megan spent a lot of time in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
They had to come home, though, when the kids were old enough to start school.
Yeah.
Yeah. The good old days.
Good old days.
Yes.
Yep. So when did your dad and mom come back to Haines? How long were they in Kake? Or how long was your dad in Kake? And then did he marry your mom fairly quickly and then come back?
Fairly quickly, yes. Yeah. They came back for the summers. His dad was still fishing. Mm-hmm. And I think it was when I think about my mom and I think about her moving here, as a Native woman, the adjustment for her had to be tough. That she said that she thought for sure that she would just slide right into the Native community. She'd join the ANS, and just life goes on. But it didn't work out that way. She said that some of the ladies were upset that she married my dad.
Yeah. Yep.
And they kind of iced her out. So she's like, well, she went home and she was really upset and told Dad that they were not very kind to her. And his solution was, well, let's go join the American Legion. So they did. Because they had to do they had to volunteer somewhere. And so that's what they did, is they ended up playing a big part in the local American Legion. So I think it kind of, in a way, it worked out. She found her people. Mm-hmm. And that's where they both wanted their services to be held when they passed. So.
Yeah. Now, were you and your siblings, were your parents living in Haines when you guys were born, or were some of you guys in Kake and some in Haines?
Good question. So after Kake, my parents went to Metlakatla.
Okay.
And I was born in Ketchikan while they were in Metlakatla. And my brother told me that he remembers watching, because the weather was so bad, it was in November, he remembers watching the float plane come in for a landing to pick my mom up. And he said that the weather was so bad he couldn't go to the dock. Mm-hmm. He had to pull up as close as he could to the beach. And then Dad carried my mom to the plane. And then they flew to Ketchikan. And Dad said that, he said, I remember coming into Ketchikan for a landing, the wind hit us, and that big pink building on the waterfront? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I made eye contact with a few people. So that's where I was born. And then my older brother, Harry, was born in Juneau. And they were, oh goodness, I missed something. They were in Teneke. So that's where he went after Kake. They went to Teneke. And my brother Harry was born while they were there. And he was born in Juneau. And then my younger sister Mary was also born in Juneau. They were, I think Harry was born in Juneau because they were in Teneke, and my sister was born in Juneau because it was during the fishing season.
Fishing season, okay.
Yeah, so...
so after Metlakatla, did they come back to Haines then?
After they went to Belkovsky on the Aleutian Islands.
Really?
Yeah. So Mom said that the school out there was really nice. It was freshly built, and they had a teacherage there. It was very nice, and they lived in the teacherage. And she said the people were wonderful to them, and they really enjoyed it.
So with your dad being a BIA teacher, was that something that you're only in a spot for a certain amount of time, or was it his choice that, hey, if you got something open, I'd like to go to another spot? Or they're like, hey, you need to go here, you need to go here.
Yeah, they moved him around. Yeah, so I think that he said the longest that he spent in one spot was 10 Kentucky. And he was there for a few years, and he was nominated for Teacher of the Year. And he said that when the lady came out she flew into Alaska, went out to watch him, observe him at the school, and he said that he was like, well, I'm the oil man, I'm the health aide, and, he was naming all these things that he had to do, and he said he didn't have time to entertain somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then while she was there, the furnace broke. So he was repairing the stove the whole entire time, and he had one of his seniors teaching, Flossie Togg
Really?
was teaching.
Was doing the teaching?
Yeah. Yeah, because he said he spent his whole day with his head in the furnace trying to get it fixed.
Uh-huh.
And he said that while he was there, my older sister was also born in Juneau. She was in kindergarten, and there was no way that he could manage kindergarten and then all of the other grades as well. So he had Flossie teaching kindergarten. But it wasn't 5 days a week. It was just a few times a week, a few hours a day. But he said he had to convert an old outhouse into the kindergarten. So, and then he told us about this bear that came in and was trying to bust down the door at the school. So he shot it. And he said, I was trying to throw it into the bay. I didn't want anyone to know that I shot it. It was embarrassing that I had to do this. And he goes, I threw it into the bay, and it filled up with air. Every time the tide would change, the bear would come in and go back down. So he's like, I don't know.
He's like rubbing his nose in. I'm not going away till you fess up.
It's like, what did you do? He goes, I went out there and shot it a few more times. Yeah. I was,
So do you have memories of the Aleutians in that?
No, I don't. I think I was just 2 or 3.
Okay.
I remember Kake, and that was, I think I was 2 in the Aleutians. So I was learning to talk and, got into trouble. My mom said that she went into Anchorage to have a prenatal checkup and left my dad babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
And she came back, and I had learned how to say Kangi, Daddy, Kangi. And she was upset with him. And she's like, we don't have Kangi. What were you doing? And he said every time I'd start fussing, he would give me a chocolate chip. With Kangi. Yeah, so...
Typical dad move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever's easiest.
Yeah.
Path of least resistance. Give the kid a candy.
Yep.
So I learned candy, and I learned shut up while my mom
Well,
was gone. But my brother taught me shut up, and it was kind of a family joke after that, because Harry said, you didn't even know how to say it right. You said "dud up." And then I think that even as adults, whenever he was irritated with me, he'd "dud up."
I can see Harry doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it put me in my place really fast, and I knew I was being foolish in some way or another.
So do you remember what year it was that everybody moved back to Haines?
It was the year Harry started kindergarten, so I think it was probably 68 or 69, around in there. I'm guessing it must have been 69. My oldest brother graduated in 72, and I started kindergarten the same year that he graduated. So, late 60s. Yeah, and his first friend was Roger Seeley.
Okay. Yeah, that figures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came home and drug Roger home. We were living in the Hinchman house, my Uncle Jim's house now.
Yeah.
And I remember him bringing Roger home and thinking that they were such big boys. They were 5.
Yeah.
Big boys. And they were in school. He was, he was always around.
Yeah. So when did you guys move to 3 Mile?
I think probably that fall. I remember going out there the first time we went out. The house was empty, and we went out to clean it up and my parents started the stove and that kind of stuff. And my youngest sister was a baby, and Harry was riding a trike, and he told me we were playing King Arthur. So I stood on a box, and I was the person that was going, do-do, do-do, here comes here comes charge.
And he was King Arthur?
Yes, here comes King Arthur.
Yeah.
And I always felt like I was the chubby kid after this, too. And the box collapsed with me standing on it, and I was using a curtain rod as my trumpet, and the curtain rod went down my throat and jabbed my tonsil out. And
Ouch!
I went to the clinic, and the clinic is down the old preschool.
Yeah,
the
Human Resources building down there.
Yeah, it was there, and I remember going there. I remember being wrapped in my my binky and heading that way, and Dr. Jones saying, "Well, looks like she swallowed her tonsil. Not much you could do." So
not gonna have to take it out later.
yeah,
did that for you.
Yeah, so I've had a couple of times when doctors have looked in my, let's check your tonsil. Ooh, you only have one. I'm like, yeah.
Long story.
Yeah. Kind of took care of that myself.
Yeah. I'm not gonna take care of the other one. First one is painful enough.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so we lived out there without electricity or a phone for probably a year. And we had an outhouse that first summer. And now when I think about it, I think, oh my gosh, my poor mom, that was really rough. Having to haul water and having gas lamps for a whole winter. And then she had a wood cook stove. I remember that wood cook stove too.
It's a lot of work.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And then having to haul water to bathe us.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine.
So did they? Because there's that creek right next to. Were you able to get water out of that? Is that was that the main water source then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So Dad had we had plumbing in the house. It just wasn't working. I guess I don't know, but he just built a line or buried a pipe he dug a trench, buried a pipe, and brought water into the house.
Okay.
And it always froze. It's always frozen.
Well, if he was hand digging it, he probably didn't get it down deep enough because it doesn't take very long.
Right.
I mean, you got to be down pretty deep to keep anything from freezing around here in the wintertime.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hand dug it.
Yeah.
I remember that. And the pipe was not very big
Wasn't a very
either.
big
It was
pipe
just
either.
a little one, yeah.
And so I always remember as a kid just the huge gardens.
Mm-hmm.
Was that from right at the start or was it a few years in before they started the garden?
No, that was right from the start. My
You might not have as fond of memories. I just would drive by and just always be in amazement of all the stuff growing. You were probably weeding it, going, dang it.
it was just part of life.
Yeah.
But my grandparents had a really good sized garden, and up on the
Up
meadow,
on the bench up above.
Yeah, so they had a garden up there and down, and it was quite a bit bigger than what it looks like now because the road wasn't there. So they had cows and goats and chickens and pigs and a huge garden and a distillery.
Wait, what? Let's go over that again. Cows, chickens, pigs, goats, and a distillery.
And horses. And a distillery.
And a distillery.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work just with those.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, but the way they survived was bootlegging.
Bootlegging moonshine.
Mm-hmm.
What were they using for their base on that? Because there's not a lot of
potatoes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad said that, actually it was my Uncle Jim. He said that there was an agent who would come, during Prohibition, he would come out and arrest people for various little infractions, and he'd heard that there was somebody out by Wells Bridge who had a bottle hidden in a tree. And so he stops by 3 Mile and starts chatting up my grandpa. And our distillery was up, their distillery was up in probably 50 yards up in the woods, kind of along the creek because they needed water.
Okay, up behind the house there on the hill?
Yeah, so Uncle Jim said that big of smoke came up, and while Grandpa was standing there talking to the agent, and he tells the agent, these damn boys must have thrown green wood under the distillery. And the guy just laughs, thinking he's kidding. But that's actually what happened. Yeah, he didn't. As far as I know, he didn't get caught.
It's crazy the number of times I've heard people tell stories like that, where they're telling flat out truth, and people are like, well, yeah, they would never just open up and admit it like that, and so they just keep on walking.
Yeah. Yeah, so he said the guy drove all the way out to Wells Bridge, or out to Wells, to check on the one bottle that was stuck in a tree.
And he missed the still at 3 Mile. So did Dad ever talk about, is this like 30 cases a year, 10 cases? Was they putting in quart bottles? How are they?
You know what? I never really asked that question. He said that
they ship any of that across the border into Canada too, or is it just sold locally?
Locally to the fort.
To the fort, okay.
Yeah. He said they had a well-walked path between the fort and their house.
Yeah. Soldiers looking for something to pass the time. Absolutely, and they had money. Yeah. They were paid regularly by the U.S. government.
Right. Yeah. Entrepreneurship, I guess. You just meeting a need.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I guess his cover was that he was a farmer.
Yeah. That was a great place to grow potatoes, and so you grow your own fuel, or you're growing your own base for your distillery, and keep going.
Yeah, the potatoes were always up on that
top bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, several years ago, you guys did something with CIA, didn't you? Trying to do a commercial.
Yeah, we just did an experiment with potatoes.
Yeah.
It actually turned out really well. We had an amazing amount of potatoes, but we just didn't do it again the following year. I wish we would have, but it is a lot of work.
Yes.
We could probably do it again now, but I don't think people really understand how much work it is. It sounds so glamorous, It's a little garden.
Yeah, and just beyond that, talking about your mom hauling water and stuff, and I am so thankful that I live in the day and age that we do. Because listening to my grandpa's stories, my mom's stories of when they were young and all the extra stuff they had to do, and then you take that back another generation, it's like, no wonder they didn't live very long.
Right.
They were working their butts off from dawn to dusk every single day just for the necessities. That was a lot of effort into that.
Right. Just to stay alive.
Yeah. And you can make it easier now if you have acres and acres and acres of land where you're doing enough where you've got the automation and stuff. But for something in Haines, like up there, majority of that's still going to be done by hand. It's a lot of work to garden that much space.
Yeah, it is. But
I think it would be, if you guys did it, I think it would be cool, because as we found out during COVID with the food security and people trying to have as much as we can locally grown in as many areas, like having that as an option is, I think you guys would sell the potatoes.
I think so too.
I don't know if it'd be profitable. It'd be the hard part about that.
Probably not. But one of the wonderful things about being a tribal government is that you can leverage what we receive to govern. And when we leverage funding, it allows us a little more freedom to do what we want to and need to.
What you want to do with it.
Yeah, so that basically what you're seeing right now with the growth of our tribe is a lot of leveraging.
Okay.
A lot of creative use of the funds, and I think right now we're on the verge of signing an agreement with the Department of Interior to lease our buildings, the buildings that we use to provide programs. So we will be leasing those to the Department of Interior, and then that will bring even more funding into the community.
Okay.
So
And what's the Department of the Interior going to use those buildings for?
they will, how do you explain this? I'm not very good at explanations, but a 105L lease allows us, the tribe, to lease our facilities to the federal government so that we can provide our tribal citizens with programs.
Okay. So that's a way to fund I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
We've not done that before. That's something that IHS has always done. But there was a
IHS, Indian Health Service.
right, yeah. So they started leasing back to the federal government, and then CIA has been really proactive in making sure that the government stands up for or delivers what they promise. You know, they have fiduciary responsibilities, and we want to make sure that they're providing us with what legally they're supposed to be providing us with. So there've been a few lawsuits that allow us to do things like put land into trust and leasing our buildings to the government, and there are just a few other things that we've had to do in order to just basically to stand up for ourselves.
Yep. We're going to get back into CIA, but I want to back up a little bit.
Sure.
So you're growing up at 3 Mile, coming to school in town. What was your childhood like, besides horses and art? Because I know your name is on several. If anybody goes into the gym and looks at the different panels at the ends for the school mascots for all different communities, your name is on several of those.
Right.
What was your childhood like in Haines?
Well, there were good things and bad things about it. My dad was a teacher, which made things a lot easier.
Okay.
I think that because he was a teacher, and it kind of cleared the way for my siblings and I to have a better school experience than we probably would have being native. And the difference, even between my older siblings and the younger set, is the difference is huge. My sister had a really rough time being a native girl. She's very pretty, and I think that this is a terrible thing to say, but probably helped her. But it also caused a lot of problems, and it brought on attention that she didn't want, and it caused some issues that I'd rather not talk about. But
Don't have to.
yeah,
Don't have to.
but for the most part, I have very clear memories of good teachers who probably made my experience all in Haines good. And Carol Flagel is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carlisle Stewart is another one. Richard Buck was another one. Bob Adkins. Meryl Parker.
I didn't have Meryl for a teacher.
She was pretty old at the time she was my teacher, but she actually knew my dad before he started teaching, and she knew my mother.
Okay.
She was a teacher in Kake when my mom was a child.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, isn't that's
There's
just funny
connections
that,
all over. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was my second grade teacher, and she was oh my goodness, going from a rough first grade into a wonderful second grade. And then in second grade is when I met Jessie, So Jesse's my lifelong friend.
You say your lifelong running mate there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So she allowed us to do things like we started a granny club, and she would let us stay in the classroom, and we would just do. Well, she showed us how to do some basic yoga and exercise.
In second grade, you guys
Yeah.
are doing that.
Mhm.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was a good experience. And then my next teacher in third grade was June Haas, and she was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I remember that I just had a really good memory of being in her class. And then she pulled me aside one day and said, "Harriet, you're gonna have to go over to the other class." And I was just devastated, like, why? And she said, "Because we can't meet your needs here. We have to put you in Mrs. Wolf's class."
Yeah.
And I was like, and we had like A, B, C, D, E, F back then. So they pushed me up a grade, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to leave her
Same
class.
part of the plan here. I want to be with my people.
Right. Yeah, so it actually worked out really well. Mrs. Wolf brought with her Mr. Wolf.
Okay.
He was our janitor, and they were wonderful. They were just really wonderful people. So that was a really good experience. And then the following year in fourth grade, I had Mr. Carter. He was only here for 1 year.
Okay.
And he was a wonderful teacher, too. And then he happened to be really good friends with my dad. So, and Mr. Cotter was, he was our teacher during the time when, people were watching Welcome Back, Cotter.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it made it really fun. We used to do crazy things like coming in from recess. I was like, "Hey, everybody, let's run in before he gets there, put our heads down, and then as soon as he walks in, we lift our heads up and go, 'Welcome back, Mr. Cotter.' I can't remember what the saying was. Well, we're all in our places with bright, shiny faces."
Okay.
Yeah, so he just thought it was hilarious, but it was so much fun just to tease him, and he was a good teacher. And then the following year, I had Miss Jensen. And do you remember her at all?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
No.
she was another wonderful human being. She wore wacky clothes, and she would do things like she taught us crazy poems, like The Walrus and the Carpenter, and this other poem that she taught us, we were all like in anticipation because Walrus and the Carpenter was really long, and it took us a long time to learn it. And then the next poem, she said, this one it's called Adam. And we were like, it's called Fleas. Fleas. And we were all like, oh gosh, after spending so much time learning this long poem, we were so ready for the next one. And she goes, it's called Fleas. And then she flips this card around, and the poem was Adam had 'em. Oh, she was.
Go.
Yeah. And then she would do things like extra credit. What color were the tights I was wearing yesterday? And they were usually something exotically wild, like crazy patterns or purple or something like that. But she was a really good teacher.
I would have been hosed on that. I was always color deficient, so I don't see the same colors as everybody else.
No.
I would have gotten 0 extra credit for the whole year. It's like it was supposed to be rigged against me. She would not have been on my top list of teachers pulling that stuff.
Oh, shucks. Well, the girls liked it.
Oh, I'm sure.
The girls liked it, yeah.
Yeah, probably none of the boys even paid attention to
No,
the
I'm
color
sure
of the
they
tights.
didn't. No, and then I think that junior high was another really good period because I had that suite of really good teachers in junior high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where did the art come into? Was that with Mrs. Flegel?
Actually, I think it was probably Mrs. Parker.
Mrs. Parker kind of got the art bug into you?
Yeah, so
And that was something you and Jesse kind of shared too. So
Right.
is that kind of a joint, hey, this is something we're both
Right.
good at and
That
like
and
doing
horses.
it? That and horses, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, Mrs. Flegel just put up with us. So she just kind of she was a wonderful teacher, wonderful guide. She'd show us how to do something and then just let us go. And then I knew I was, by the time I was in high school, I was probably 16 when my parents were retired, and they were, well, actually, they weren't really retired. They went to school in Bellingham.
Okay.
So my dad was a teacher at the Northwest Tribal College, and he taught English, math, and history. My mom was a student, and so we spent a lot of time in Bellingham when I was growing up, between junior high and high school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was not easy. It was
No.
We lived in Bellingham, and well, the first time we were there, though, my dad was working on his master's degree when we were really little. So we started going there when we were really young, and we would go during summer so he could take his classes. And then when he retired from teaching, we started going when he started teaching at the tribal college.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived in Bellingham, and he drove out to the reservation to teach. So I went to middle school and high school, not the entire time.
Yeah, but part of it down in Bellingham.
Yeah.
Totally different experience.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, it was, because I wasn't protected in the same way that we were here. And I went to.
Do you think that gave you a better? Did you know how much nicer it was in Haines before you went down there, or was that just that was a reaffirmation that these teachers are doing a really good job taking care of me, or was that like an eye opener? Like, dang, I had it good in Haines.
I think it was probably a reaffirmation, because I knew.
You had enough other friends and what they were going through and seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But then getting down there, and I think it was a junior in high school, I had to go talk to the counselor about next steps, and he was looking at my my grades, my all my information, and he's sitting there looking at him when I walked in, and he goes, and he said, "Tell me a little bit about your grades and about your experience in school." And I said, "Oh, I have a hard time with science, because I had I think a C+ in science, and this was in junior high."
Mm-hmm.
And he started laughing, and he's like, "A C+? You think that's bad?" and I was like, "Yeah, you don't know my dad."
Yeah. When I bring a C+ home, it doesn't get a positive reaction.
No, it doesn't. And so he just thought it was really funny, and I didn't know what I was a little offended by that, and he just thought I was just another dumb native kid.
Yeah.
And so he just expected to, he was going to be dismissive until he saw what my grades looked like. And then he started talking about, well, where do you want to go, for higher education? And I just said, don't even worry about it. I already had it figured out. I'm just here because somebody told me I had to be here. So, yeah, I don't need your help. But at that age, kids know when somebody's genuinely going to, to give them a hand, or if they're just kind of going to blow you off.
Going through the motions because they're paid to do it. Mm-hmm. Figured out pretty quick.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I had to go back home and tell my parents, well, this was the experience I had today, and we all just sort of understood that I already knew what I was going to do. It's it's okay.
So what was the plan after school?
I went to St. Martin's, the same college my dad did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice little quiet Catholic school, so it was a great school. Really good transition for me, I think.
What did you study?
Secondary education.
Okay.
I wanted to be a teacher until I realized I didn't.
Wait, what was the defining moment where you realized you didn't want to be a teacher?
Because I realized that when you work in the school, people are just watching you. And I decided that if I want to do something crazy, I want to do something crazy without it jeopardizing my career. So I just decided I wasn't cut out.
So did you
Yeah.
quit school then, or did you switch over to something else?
Just switched.
What'd you switch to?
Tribal and public administration. So it started out as like a civics, just taking civics classes, and then looking for ways that can, just how can I make this work for me? And the best thing for me at that time was tribal and public administration. And it was just when tribal administration was becoming
A thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because some of the instructors that I had are, they're big names in tribal politics, and I felt really lucky to have had,
Had them as mentors and teachers. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the textbooks that were being written at that time, and there were no real textbooks for tribal administration. Public, yes, but tribal.
They're just kind of bringing it. That was right at the beginning of that, so they're just kind of creating it as they went along with the courses.
Right. Yeah, so when I started working for the Chilkoot Indian Association, I just told the staff there is no textbook, there's no formula for us to follow. Success is going to depend on what we do with what we have.
So after college, did you come right back to Haines after that?
I think I had my oldest son really young, so I did. Yeah, I came back and just kept taking more classes. Just that at that time too, online classes were becoming something that was viable. So I just kept taking classes and started working for the tribe. It had to be.
Because at one point, weren't you working for Cluck-One Inc. too? Was that? Did you work for the tribe first and then Cluck-One Inc.?
I did.
Okay.
And, yeah, I worked for the tribe first. Got some of the programs going, and then was offered a job in Juneau, and moved my little family to Juneau, and they were very unhappy there. It was great for me, but the boys did not like school in Juneau because it's not, it's the prejudice there is as outrageous
As it can be.
Yeah, so
And that's kind of crazy for me, I think, because there is a distinctly large Native population in Juneau, and to have that kind of prejudice in Juneau when so much of Juneau is related to Haines, Hoona, Angoon, Kake, all these Native communities coming into Juneau.
yeah, it's crazy.
I knew there were some. I didn't know it was to the extent that you're describing.
Right. Yeah,
That's unsettling.
Ted refused to go to school.
Okay.
And so I ended up having to homeschool him, and so he would just go to work with me, and had a desk set up for him, and sometimes.
So who are you working for in Juneau?
For Tlingit and Haida.
That was for Clinton Haida?
Yeah, I was running their regional environmental program.
Okay.
So was just basically environmental programs from Anchorage down to southern tip of southeast Alaska. Just kind of monitored and managed. Yeah, but it was fun. I really liked it.
So as we start talking about CIA and Cluck-One Inc. and Tlingit and Haida, I know some of this, but for people that aren't aware of it, what is the difference between Cluck-One Inc., CIA? Cluck-One Inc. is a corporation, CIA is a sovereign tribal government, but when was Chilkoot Indian Association recognized as a tribal sovereign government? How far back does that go?
Federal recognition came in the 30s.
Okay.
And it was during the Indian reorganization, because there are like periods in history where tribes are either supported and given, people talk about giving them sovereignty and self-governance and that sort of thing. And then the next time period, it might be you've got to become integrated into the bigger society. You've got to become like everyone else. So Indian Reorganization Act was a time when tribes were being allowed to reorganize themselves and to actually become governments. And it's a little bit different than like a traditional tribal government or tribal like a organization, I guess. The organization is very Western.
Mm-hmm.
So the wonderful thing, though, about the IRA is that we can make it what we want. We do have a constitution that we do have to follow, and if we want to change it, we have to go through the Department of Interior to change it. And probably 10 or 15 years ago, that would have been just great. It would have happened right away, but we're going through another time period where organizations like BIA and the Department of Interior are being cut back.
Mm-hmm.
So if we try to change anything in our IRA right now, it'd probably take us a decade.
Long time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I asked that, because as a kid growing up, because it was, correct me if I'm wrong on this, it was Alaska Native an Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act.
Correct.
That created Cluck One Inc.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what I always knew, Cluck One Inc.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until you guys started building your office space, all of a sudden people talk about Chilkoot Indian Association. I was like, okay, what is Chilkoot Indian Association? And so growing up here, I never knew about a sovereign tribal government.
Mm-hmm.
So that's either shows you my head was buried in the sand or I was paying, but it just really wasn't out there.
Mm-mm.
And so both Chilkat Indian Village and Chilkoot Indian Association, both sovereign tribal governments back to the 30s for the same IRAs when both
Right.
of those were created. And so they'd been there that whole time.
Right.
Okay.
They're just, for lack of a better word, dormant.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me. Cluck One Inc. is a village corporation that is kind of housed underneath Sea Alaska. So Sea Alaska is our regional corporation, and then there are X number of village corporations.
Yeah.
So Cluck One was lucky enough to get their village corporation, and we weren't. Haines was not. So we didn't realize that we were not going to get our settlement until everyone else was getting theirs, and we were kind of looking around like,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on?
You forgot somebody.
Yeah, and they actually there were more communities or more tribes that were left out than the 5 that were left out in Southeast Alaska. But the way that they had written the legislation, they allowed tribes from up north to contest the final bill, but they didn't allow southeast tribes to contest, which is weird.
That is very.
That's very
Has
weird.
anybody looked into what were the politics behind that? Do you think were there?
Do you really want to know?
If you feel comfortable saying it on it,
Yeah, I will.
yes, I'd want to know.
So we've had a number of studies done, and one of them was done by the University of Alaska Anchorage, and we have what's called the ice. Of course. Now I'm going to forget to. ICER report or something like that. I'll look it up and let you know later.
Okay.
But it was done by the University of Alaska, and in this huge document, basically what they say is there is no real reason for the tribes to be left out. There's speculation. And if you take a look at what was happening in each of the 5 communities in Southeast Alaska that were left out, they were all logging communities. And at that time, the logging communities thought that if the land was returned to the tribes, that they wouldn't allow logging. And then what ended up happening, though, is that after the land claim settlement came through, those corporations were told, you have X number of years to make a profit, or we're going to close the doors and you will no longer have a corporation. So, talk about being set up for failure.
Yeah.
So, as my dad told me that, what they did was they took fishermen, stripped them out of their rain gear, put them in suits, and then told them to succeed. And what do you expect?
Mm-hmm.
A fisherman's not going to, be able to run a corporation just because he changed his clothes. So, what they ended up doing is hiring a lot of attorneys to come in and help them set up corporations and to give them advice. And a lot of that was, well, you need to make money now. What can we do to make money now? And the fastest way at that time to make money was to sell resources.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of...
In a lot of ways, it's still the fastest way to make money, is selling resources.
Right. So that became sort of like a stamp on Southeast Alaska ANCSA corporations, because everyone was logging.
Mm-hmm.
So when I became involved in trying to right the wrong for Landless to get our recognition, all of the, I'm trying really hard to say this nicely. There was a movement in Southeast Alaska and in the lower 48 that really put a kibosh on us just quietly settling.
Mm-hmm.
They thought that we would not know how to manage our own lands, that we would just do the same thing that the other ANCSAs did, and we would just mow down all of the timber. I think that could have happened if we had if we'd been recognized 50 years ago. It could have very well happened, because it happened to all of the other organizations.
Well, and like you said, and this thing that frustrates me with when you look back, that there's a lot of programs that are set up with good intentions, and that we need to protect public resources, we need to do this and this, but the way that it's set up, like you said, just you got a bunch of fishermen or loggers, whatever, that, okay, now you're going to be able to run this multi-million-dollar corporation without setting up the proper support and training to, it's not that the people can't do it, they just don't have the experience. That life experience has been totally different, and they haven't learned the skill set necessary to do it.
Right.
And where is the support to help get to that point, instead of just like, here you go, good luck. Yeah. Anybody else, regardless of race, under those same parameters, log it. That was the alternative going forward, to meet the mission, to meet the goals that they set out for you. And then to hold it against them later, it's like, wait, what?
Right. That's crazy.
We're kind of following your rules here.
Right. Yeah. It's a very imperfect bill. I think that what we've seen in my lifetime is a very fast change. If you really, so I'm older now, and time feels like it's going by really fast. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it feels like in my lifetime we've gone from this really insecure, being insecure about understanding Western ways of living and doing, and now we have this next generation of leaders who are coming up behind me, who are very very strong leaders, native leaders, and they are not they're not allowing outside forces to tell them what's best for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to see that. It's just amazing to me to listen to and to watch. And even, in my own family, I see that and I hear it. And I think, okay, so I stood on the shoulders of my grandparents.
Yeah.
And they paid a price so that I would be able to go to school and I would be able to get an education. And, and then I'm the placeholder for my kids, and they're the placeholders for theirs, and so on. So with each generation, I think there is an understanding of who we are that's coming back. And it's coming back in a really beautiful way. I sometimes think about how easy, I think, gosh, these kids have it so easy now because, grandparents have paid the price, parents have paid the price to make this life for you a lot easier. And that sometimes I have to tell my kids, it is, you're very lucky that you get to have this opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and it's almost, it's almost as if they've never felt the same kind of pain that I felt, and I've never really felt the same kind of pain my grandparents felt. So,
but then they've probably felt a different pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different one.
Mm-hmm.
You were kind of protected at school. They were having the prejudice and bullying or whatever when they were in Juneau with that. It's different stages, and it one of the things I got a love of reading from my mom. She taught me. She kind of instilled in that me at a young age, and I've always loved reading. But just for me, it's every culture has good points and bad points. Mm-hmm. And the people that can't appreciate the good points of another culture but just point out the bad, as if it's humans in general.
Right.
We always okay, we do this good, but we kind of the bad stuff we kind of push to the side.
Right.
But looking around, most of us well, you don't do that. Well, we always point out the negatives. The others why can't we embrace the positives of the different cultures and learn from the positives, and maybe we can we can eliminate some of the negative ones if we learn more of the positives from other people.
Well, I think you probably took ethics in college.
Nope.
You didn't?
Nope. Took it from my dad. It was kind of a daily thing with him.
I had a really good ethics professor, and one thing that always stuck in my mind after that class was that just looking at different cultures through the eyes of that person's experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not experiencing the same issues or the same physical happenings or that sort of thing, then you don't know where they're coming from when they make a decision.
Absolutely.
So I think that has helped me a lot with empathy. Just to realize that if somebody is rude to me because of who I am, or rude to my children because of who they are, it's because of their wherever they're coming from is maybe not the healthiest place. So,
and part of that too is maybe not the healthiest place, but they also might not have learned. They might not have been exposed to certain things at an age that would understand more about the culture, or they might have had, wherever they grew up, they might have experienced something that gave them a negative connotation. And so that's part of the reason I started this, is to have conversations with people and hopefully get people a better understanding of the people we're around. Because so much of it, we keep getting siloed with social media. It's you like this, we get a narrow and narrower focus, and we're not learning about the other people. We're judging them on really small fractions of who they are instead of looking at the whole picture. And even with that, I will never be able to relate to what you've gone through as Harriet Brouillette. Totally different experience, white, male. just with those two, totally different. But the circumstances you grew up in and I grew up in, totally different. We grew up in the same town, but it's different time periods. And so I think at least being willing to listen to what somebody else has gone through, I'm never going to 100% know, but I can hopefully have a better understanding.
Right.
And it's not going to be perfect. We'll be closer to what you went through rather than not having a conversation with you at all.
Right. I like that.
So I think that's what I'm hoping is more people have conversations with people and longer. And that's why I don't cut these. I don't want to have it just 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Sit and get to know somebody. Dig a little deeper and just, because I think that's how we build a stronger community, a stronger state, stronger country, world, is understanding the other people that share it with us. So, yeah.
Not bending to, or I find myself bending though, to try to make someone more comfortable around me. You know, they're.
I think that's a human thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
we want to be liked. We want the people around us to be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not necessarily that I want to be liked because I don't care, but I want people to be comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I just I want to feel approachable because I can't help people if I don't know what their issues are, and if they don't tell me what their issue is, then I can't help. You know.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you think? So what age were you when you? Because you were with CIA, you were at Tlingit and Haida. After Tlingit and Haida, was that when you worked for Cluck One Inc., or was it Cluck One Inc. and then Tlingit and Haida?
Well, actually, I came back. Charlie, Jimmy, and Lee Clayton called me at home when I was living in Juneau, and Lee put Charlie on, and Charlie says, "Harriet, it's time to come home. It's time for you to come home." What do you mean? And he said, "We need you. It's time for you to come home." And I thought that was the meanest thing that Lee could ever do to me, because how could you say no to an elder? You know, he is telling me, heartfelt telling me, it's time for you to come home. And so I did, and I asked Tlingit and Haida if I could have a leave of absence. Can I please take a few months off and go help my tribe? Well, when I got back here, we were in rougher shape than I thought. And the time went by, my time went by, and I called them again, and I said, "Can I take a year's leave of absence?" And they said, "Yes, okay, okay, you can take a year." And so I did, and then the year passed.
And when was this?
2002,
okay.
2004, around in there, yeah. So I had a friend who came he was a CPA, and he came in and said that, okay, I'll take a look at your books and let's see what we can do to, help you get back in line. And he was here for a few days, and then he goes, "Harriet, can I talk to you for a minute?" And I said, "Oh, sure, what's up?" And he said, "As your friend, I'm going to tell you to jump ship and go back to Juneau. Because right now, if you stay here, you're going to go down with this ship. If you go back to Juneau, you can build your career." And it didn't take me long to say, I'm not going to abandon this. Yeah. I'm not going to abandon the tribe, because if I abandon them, what's going to happen? Then we'll surely disappear.
Yep.
So I hung in there, and ended up getting fired. And it was just laughable. The whole thing was just so out of control. The person who fired me was somebody who didn't live here, and she just, I'm not sure how she ended up in the president's chair, Well, she wasn't elected, so she just came in and told me she was now the president, and I was wondering how could that be? There was no election. So anyway, it just turned out to be the best thing for me, because we had gotten the tribe semi back on track. We didn't lose all our money to all of the contracts and compact stuff that we had going on with BIA. I'd gone through the torture of meeting with BIA, and we had a plan to make sure the tribe stayed on track. Anyway, when I walked away, I felt like it was okay. It was okay, and I had something else to do, and I wanted the experience with an ANC because I was still
ANC is
Clock-One Inc.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I wanted that experience. I wanted to be able to. I wanted to understand how they worked because it was so different than tribes. So I spent 8 years with Clock-One Inc. and I really enjoyed it. It was good people. They had downsized quite a bit by the time I came on board, and but the good thing about that is that because our team was so small, we had to do everything. So I learned a bit of everything by working there.
Yeah.
And then when they closed the door and moved their office to Anchorage, I went back to work for CIA.
And what was your role when you went back to CIA?
I went back as I was running another environmental project, so it was just part-time. But it was okay because at that time my father had passed away and my mother had Alzheimer's, so I needed to spend more time with her. And so working part-time really wasn't covering the bills, but it allowed me time to spend
with Mom.
Yeah. And that I think was the most important thing I could have done. We could have sent her away to a home, but we just kept her at home.
Keeping her here.
By the end, she didn't know who we were, and she ran away a lot.
Yeah, but even just, I think some people, it's easy for them to say she doesn't know who we are. We can put her in a home and it won't matter.
Right.
But it does.
It does, yeah. They still feel, you know, it's not like there's no one.
And still having that family, not everybody's in a position to be able to do that. But I think the people that are and can do that, that's always the right choice.
I agree 100%. Yeah, and I think too that I am grateful for the time that we did get with her. But before that last year of her really not knowing who we were, she was speaking in Tlingit to my boys.
Oh, awesome!
And it was kind of funny though because. James was telling me the story about he was making her lunch one day, and he was in the kitchen, and he had put her in her favorite chair, and she was facing out the window outside, and she said it was her TV, so she was watching nature, and then he asked her in Tlingit if she was ready for lunch, and he said she shot up out of her chair, and she's like, "Who is that? Who's there? Who's there?" Because she hadn't heard the language spoken in so long. She was thinking she was being, she thought maybe there's ghosts.
Ghosts in the house?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then he had to just say, "Grandma, it's me. It's James. It's me." And she started laughing, and then he started talking to her again, and then, she was comfortable. But...
Well, that has to be an amazing memory for James to have that connection with his grandmother.
Yeah. Yeah, he used to drive her around a lot and tease her and, and then ask her how to say certain words in Tlingit, and he would mispronounce them, and because she spoke Tlingit as her first language. And so English was her second language, and she was always asking us to correct her English, and it's like, "Mom, your English is better than ours." But she had a deeper understanding of the language than a lot of people, than anyone actually that I've met to date. I think the only person that I could think of that comes close is Evans Willard.
Okay.
Because those two could talk.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun to listen to them. But she refused to talk to other people, and I asked her why. And she said, because they speak like babies. And it took me a minute to realize what she meant. And it's like, oh, okay. Not all speakers can speak a language clearly.
Clearly, yeah.
Yeah, and I just didn't, having only spoke English, I had no clue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty interesting. I think that Evans and my dad were really good friends, so having him around was a good thing.
Yeah.
I think another person that she liked to talk to was George Stevens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so George Stevens is from Stikine area, Auk
Okay,
Bay.
yeah, yeah.
Or, where is that?
Stikine's down by Wrangell.
Okay, no, it's not Stikine. I'm
Taku?
wrong then. Taku, yeah, Taku.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his family came down the Taku, and so he's somehow related to us, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure how, but I just sure loved him. He was just a good man, and he was so funny because his wife was a head taller than he was, and she was really sassy and very bossy. And they'd come into the Clock One Inc. office, and she always came in first, and she was always bossing him, and he would be behind her, making faces and all. And so Jamie Katzik and I were in the front, and we'd just crack up, and she probably thought we were rude.
Rude, laughing at her.
Yeah, but we weren't. We were laughing at the things that he would do. And then one time he dropped his wallet, and boy, she just tore into him about dropping his wallet. And oh my gosh, the expression, that as soon as she turned around, he was like. So I enjoyed the heck out of that guy.
I think most people did. Yeah, it was pretty cool to be around.
Yeah, definitely old school.
Yes.
Very, very old school.
Yeah. So when you came back after your mom passed, did you start taking on more responsibility at CIA? Did you say, was that kind of right away, or were you still in the environmental program for a while longer?
Actually was on the tribal council.
Okay.
And I was elected president at that time. And then we had gone through a few tribal administrators, and I'd spent 8 years away from the tribe. I hadn't spent any time at all, and then they'd asked me if I would be interested in spending, and running for the council, and I was like, ah, sure. Well, I found out that they had gone through this cycle where all of a sudden they were back, not all of a sudden, over time they became blackballed again by the federal government. So I found out that we were at risk of losing all of our funding, and that if I didn't, and we were way behind on audits, and if I didn't do something like fast, the doors were going to close. Here we are again, and having actually we had spoke to a couple people about taking on the responsibility as tribal administrator, and people were like, no, I'm not going to touch this mess. Or they come in and look and then say, no.
Yeah.
And so I had worked before with John, he was the tribal administrator in Cluckman for a while.
Brewer?
Yes. He actually was a mentor of mine years before. And so I asked him if he'd be interested in coming in and doing some part-time work for us. And he came in and he looked at it and he's like, no.
Peace out.
Yeah, basically. And he goes, well, why don't you do it? And I was like,
because everybody else is saying no.
Yeah, why? Come on. So he just said, you know what, I think you can do this. I believe you can do this. So the tribal council ran out of options, and I was at the bottom of the barrel. So they said, will you please take this job? And so I said, okay, I will try. I'll try. But I went through probably a couple of years without sleeping and being anxious all of the time. And
So when they asked you that, and because you knew they'd run out of options, were you kind of like, what the heck? I've been here the whole time. How come you didn't ask me sooner? It's like now you're coming to me when you
Yep.
could have come to me before.
right.
Is there a little bit of chip on your shoulder when you
yeah.
started off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just brings me to this point where even I've got this award
Yeah.
and went to this gathering in Anchorage. People were, I had standing ovation. People were always, I quoted me in some of the classes that they were offering, and I was like, they're quoting me, wow. And it's just this big deal there. And I get
Well, it
home.
should be.
Well, yeah.
And it should be here too.
Well, you get home and know, it's like, oh, cool, but
That's so. Give me your take on this. But I think that's something that's an issue with Haines. We do not celebrate the people that do really well that come out of Haines. We'll acknowledge people from outside of the community that do well, but the people that grew up in Haines, been in Haines a long time, if they succeed, there's usually a lot more people wanting to tear them down
Right.
than acknowledge them.
right.
And I think that applies in this case as well. You go up to Anchorage, you've got a whole bunch of people like, man, this is awesome. And you come back, crickets. Like, we as a community, we need to work on that.
I think so too. I had an interesting conversation with James about that because, of course, he is very supportive of me and just he's my boss, but he's probably the most not difficult, but the most stringent boss that I've ever had.
Okay.
Just you toe the line because you're my mother, and people are they're already.
They already have a written or a built-in excuse to blame the relationship there.
Right.
And so,
Nepotism.
the nepotism, the whole thing. So,
Right.
he's right. You got to go that step above
Right.
and how you guys interact. And it's probably better for both of you.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
I think he's done a really good job of making sure that we are, we're as transparent as possible. When they were kids, I'd always tell them, the light of day. You do everything in the light of day. If you're gonna be a little shit, and you might just as well let me know because I'm gonna find
I'm going
out.
to find out.
So I think we're kind of using the same. We're just trying to do things the
So
same.
you turn that on you, Mom. You better.
Yeah, the transparency thing and the optics of something. He's always telling me the optics of something, and he's right. So
Yeah, because it's not always what's actually happened; it's what people perceive to be happening.
exactly,
Doesn't have to be what's actually happening, but if they
Right.
perceive that, and so you have to go above and beyond. And
right,
that's nice that he recognizes that as well.
right. Yeah, he's way more mature than I was at that age. A little old man. He was born a little old man. But when he said to me too that, Mom, this I'm going to celebrate you, but we're going to do it quietly because I think this is just putting a larger target on your back. This is
It will. He's correct in that as well.
Yeah. So
But I still think, and I think part of that gets back to it's Haines. You get recognized for something, and people are going to try and undercut it
right. Yeah.
instead of just celebrating it for what it is. And just why do we have to try and undercut your success? You've been recognized by the whole state
Yeah.
for doing a great job. But there's going to be people in the community. There's going to be tribal members
Oh, yeah.
that are going to be trying to undercut that. Whether it's, I don't know if it's, I have no idea what it is, jealousy, whatever. But does this happen other places?
I don't know.
Is this a Haines thing,
I
or
don't know.
it's always driven me crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
One of the things when my sister in high school, she was an excellent basketball player. The number of things I'd hear from people trying to tear her down, it was just like, seriously, Why?
Yeah.
It's and so I just seen that and even my dad, the number of times people would be attacking him and everything. It's like he's trying to do good things, and those are just two family examples. I can give you lots of examples you see in the community. It's like, why can't we just say thank you for doing a great job, congratulations on doing a great job, we're proud of you, and not have the petty jealousy or whatever else it is trying to undercut people.
I agree, 100%.
So tell James if we got people picking on you, let me know. We can go beat them up together.
Yeah, okay.
I'm old, frail. He'll have to do the beating, but I'll watch to make sure nobody's coming to break it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I could just see that. I can visualize that. And, yeah. I don't know. Sometimes they're definitely hard times. So I've always tried with CIA to surround myself with good people. So very carefully choosing who's hired into the organization, because they have to be somebody who can stand the heat. And really, it's not easy. You become a target. What you drive is going to be observed. People will actually come in and say, "Why are there so many nice cars in the driveway?" Well, because these people work. Anyway, that's just that.
And once we pay them, we have no control of what they decide to do with the money.
Yeah, maybe they live in a tent, but they drive a nice car. Okay.
Well, and you never know. It could be. That's one of the things I learned several years ago, many years ago, because I was having that conversation with somebody at the sports shop when we were in the old building. I think I was high school, college, or something like that, and I was talking about what somebody was driving, and an older gentleman that was in the store. He goes, "Doug, you don't know the whole story." I goes, well, "What is the story?" He goes, "I don't know it either," but he says maybe he paid cash for that. Maybe he's leveraged to the hilt and he's barely making the payments. You have just because there's something shiny doesn't mean it's paid for. Doesn't mean there isn't something behind it. And I was like,
yeah,
that puts a whole different look on it.
Right. Yeah. I know. When I bought my vehicle, I've always had black or gray because they're not shiny and they don't bring a lot of attention. And then during COVID, when I decided I needed a new car, the only one they had was bright red. So I came, I drove it off the ferry and was like, "Oh,
head down."
Yeah.
No, don't pay attention. Nothing happening over here.
We drove it through a puddle a few times. It's just tough being in, and anywhere else it would just be so different. I don't know. I don't know what it is about Haines and the way that we love each other. I don't know.
So looking at you've been tribal administrator for how many years now?
13. This is my 13th year.
This is your 13th year. Top 3-5 accomplishments during those 13 years.
Oh my gosh, survival.
Okay, that's a good one to start with.
I think when I started on as a tribal administrator, the lifetime expectancy for a tribal administrator was 2 years. So
dang, you're crushing it. 6.5 times a yeah.
So people don't last in these positions because they're political.
Yeah.
So I think
same as borough managers.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that just I think surrounding myself with good people was a win, and making sure that every employee was set up to succeed. If they didn't succeed, it wasn't because they weren't given what they needed to succeed. So I think that retaining employees is an accomplishment. Getting or building relationships within the borough. I actually was surprised when you came over to the office and said, "Let's do some things together." I just thought, wow, no one's ever approached us and asked us if we'd be interested in,
Well,
collaboration.
I think you started that.
Well,
Because you were in the borough. I can't remember if I came over first or because when you came over and were talking, I think you came to see Jesse
probably.
or something, and you brought up the street signs. You're like, "Hey, I've got this idea." I'm like, "Yeah, let's see what we can do with that."
Oh, that's right.
And now we've got a bunch of street signs that
Yeah,
are Colquitt language around town.
that's true. It was one of my original strategies, and our first strategic plan was having more visibility.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was glad to see they had some more up.
Yeah.
I was hoping that wouldn't when I left. I was hoping that wouldn't die off and would keep going. And
Right.
so it was cool to see more coming up.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the issue we run into is finding the correct spelling.
Spelling and stuff. Yeah.
And translation. It's
Yeah.
another one of those things with language where you say, well, how do you say this or that? And the speaker says, well, there's no direct translation for that. So,
Get something close.
right, you get something close and then somebody's going to argue with you. But I think we have Marcia Hodge, who's wonderful.
Very talented.
Yep, she's English is a second language for her, so she understands. She's got a very good understanding of language.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of in a lot of ways. If you look around Haines, there's some pretty remarkable talent in this community.
Mm-hmm.
If you know where to look,
Mhm.
some of it's kind of hidden. It's not you got to ask.
Right.
But there's some amazing talent in this community.
Yeah, some of the bartenders that are amazing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we have one, I know that's some amazing computer skills. And I'm wondering, well, why don't you just come to work for us? Yeah, it's fun when you start talking to people and you figure out that they have these wonderful skills that you
Mhm.
just, like, why didn't we know about this? But, it's,
So looking ahead, what's the next big thing that you can talk about that you want to see happen with CIA? What would be like, man, if I could do this in the next 5 years, that would be awesome.
I think completing the tank farm project. If
Yep.
there's one thing that I want to do before I die is making sure that the tank farm's cleaned up and it's transferred back to the tribe. I have been working on that for like off and on for the last 13 years.
And the effort predates that even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever I would go to D.C. and walk into Don Young's office, he'd go, "Oh, Haines, tank farm." And, well, at least he knows who I am
Yeah.
and what our issues are. So, yeah, that's one thing. And then having the Landless legislation pass is another one of those things that I really would like to see happen. It's just...
Does it seem like that's getting any closer?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, so we are, we have a couple of appointments next week with some of our opposition.
Mm-hmm.
And we are just like 2 senators away from a clean ride through.
Okay.
And one is Heinrich, and we're meeting with his staff next Tuesday or Wednesday. And I'm really looking forward to meeting with his staff because I think hearing our story really and how the land claim settlement will affect our community, hopefully will make a difference in how he feels about the legislation. I think that a lot of people really, a lot of people who claim opposition also understand. They understand that it's a social issue, it's a social justice issue, but it involves the Tongass. But, if we had received our settlement prior, we could have had land closer, but the land's being taken up by the borough, the state, it's being sold off. So that just leaves us with very limited choices.
There's not much available.
And then we have to take federal lands. So what are our federal lands options?
Yeah.
The Tongass, unfortunately. So we have Senator Heinrich and then Senator Cantwell from Washington State, who is not supportive. And I don't know that we could ever reach her. I think
Really? That kind of surprises me that she would be in opposition to that.
it surprised me too, because I've taken the time to really look at what she's accomplished for the state of Washington
Mm-hmm.
and what she's accomplished for the tribes in Washington. So I have sent her little messages like, okay, so you believe this, but you don't support our issue.
Yeah.
No, that just
That's why it was a surprise to me because after my time in Seattle, I still follow the news down there pretty much every morning. That's one of the first things is read Seattle Times on my phone. But yeah, she's very much into the supporting that in Washington, and that'd be interesting to understand why Alaska is different for her.
I don't
on that
know.
there.
We have I won't name names, but there's this guy who funds a large conservation group through selling things like snowboards and skateboards.
Mm-hmm.
And he is not from Alaska. He's from Washington State. But at one point, he stepped foot in the Tongass National Forest and had a spiritual experience there. And he said that the Tongass National Forest needs to stay out of private ownership because he had a spiritual experience when he stepped into the Tongass. So my thought is, well, every day I step into the forest, it's my entire life has been a spiritual experience in my homelands and my parents and my grandparents and so on. That's our roots are so deep here that you cannot move us, and I can't even imagine calling somewhere else home. And I can't, I have spiritual experiences when I visit the Galapagos, but I'm not going to say no one can live there. The people who live there can't practice.
Well, and again, it comes back to what you're talking about before. If they hadn't screwed this up at the beginning, the lands you would have selected would have been closer to the community, and they wouldn't have been where you were being forced to. So it's you're not the one at fault for why you're having to select there.
Right.
Should figure something out here on. Yeah, you're being blamed for something that was caused by other people.
Exactly.
Which,
And unfortunately, our ANCS is not perfect.
No.
And it
no legislation is.
if I could go back in time and I had some say in the way that this whole settlement was, how it all played out, it would be so much different. It would, that I'm not sure why corporations were chosen. It's just crazy to me. The land should have gone to the tribes, and it should have been held in trust. But that's not the way it is, and that because of that, we are not allowed to request a settlement anything different than what anybody else has received. So we're stuck.
Okay.
We're stuck with INCSA and all of the things that are
But-
wrong
and
with it.
As you well know, the reason there's no perfect legislation is every part of it's compromise. There's so much that goes into that just to get enough votes to pass it.
Exactly.
And so somewhere on the line, at the start, it might have been perfect.
Right.
But in order to get enough people to vote for it, got to change this, got to change this.
my
And
gosh, yeah.
it's because there's however many special interests that, well, that might affect this might affect that.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting to me too that people, this is such a huge issue, and there are people who have moved into the state, haven't been here, even just they're young, and I want to laugh at them, but have to take them seriously, and they're saying, well, you're going to affect where I go kayaking, or I go camping up there, and I don't, it's these crazy things like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I've actually ran into somebody in Tennessee because I was trying to help with organize a meeting in Tennessee so that we could sit down like humans and talk about what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But there were people there who were newbies to the area, and they just didn't want to hear about it. Like,
They don't want to. Yeah.
no, we don't want to hear about it at all. But because it if you point out something that's obvious to you, or they don't want to hear it. They don't want to be wrong.
Yeah. Well, most humans don't want to be told that they're wrong.
Yeah, human nature.
Yes, we all have an issue with that.
Right.
So, yeah.
But that's another thing you asked about. Top 5 things that I think learning to say, I made that mistake, I'm going to be held accountable for that. That to me was a big accomplishment. Learning to say, that was me, I screwed up.
Yeah. That was something my dad always told us when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
That he says, you've got a lot of rights, but you got a lot of responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And with those rights, there's stuff that comes with it. And he said one of those things is that when you do something wrong, you need to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the hardest things, we were in bell choir down at the Presbyterian Church, and I forget, I think it was a Sunday night, we had to practice. I was 6th, 7th grade maybe, and it was in the winter, and we thought we're waiting for our rides, and there's 4 or 5 of us waiting there, and we thought we should have a snowball fight. Well, instead of a snowball fight, we decided to have a couple people in front of the doors to the church, and the rest of us be throwing snowballs at them, which isn't a problem, except there was windows in the door of the church, and we broke one of the windows. And I remember Jeanette Heinrich picking us up, and by the time I got home, I walked in the house, I just had tears, I was just crying. Mom and Dad were like, what happened? Because I was so nervous about having to tell them, I broke a window at the church, I'm going to hell, this is all bad, this is not a good thing. And they're like, okay, Jeanette's going to go down, she got some cardboard covered up, after school tomorrow, boys are going to go down there, you're going to meet Reverend Cameron, they had it all figured out, this is how we're going to take, and so and there was no big deal, it was just like, I punished myself more than,
right.
I think my mom and dad looked at us like, there's nothing we can do to punish him worse than this already is.
Right.
But the next day we went down and met Reverend Cameron, and he taught us. We pulled the trim off the window, went and measured it, went up to Heisler's, got a new pane, we glazed it, put everything back together, and he's like, thanks for admitting it and helping me fix it. And I think we pitched in and paid for it or whatever, but it was one of those, like, you own up to it. Mm-hmm. In most cases, it's going to be better than if you try and hide it.
Right. Yeah, it feels better.
Feels telling my parents did not feel good, but their response was like, oh, okay, yeah, this can work.
Yeah, yeah.
And I learned how to replace a window. Thankfully, that's the last window I've had to replace.
I have a funny story. When Ted was little, we had a little Subaru, and he was outside playing by himself. It was before James was born. And he was throwing rocks. He was a little boy. He always had rocks in his pocket. Throwing rocks, and he comes back in, and he's just crying. Like, ah! Like, oh my gosh! Count the fingers and toes. And he's like, Mom, you're going to need to get a new car. He's like, why? No, I don't need a new car. Yeah, you need a new car. So he took us all outside, and it was, it was my brother was there with all of his guy friends, and we all went outside to figure out why I needed a new car.
Uh-huh.
And it was because he'd thrown a rock and he hit the headlight and it cracked.
Cracked the headlight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, of course, I needed a new car.
Yeah.
So
can't just replace the head. He doesn't know you can just replace a headlight.
Right. Yeah, it was devastating. He was just 2, just a little guy. But it was so funny, though, because, I wish I could have gotten a new car because the headlight was cracked.
Yeah. Not in that tax bracket.
Nope.
Yep.
Well, I think I probably paid $1,000 for that car.
For the car. So now, if kind of a morbid thought, but at your funeral, what do you? If people say this about Harriet, what would you be like? I did what I wanted to do. How do you want people to remember Harriet?
I think
And it can be different between the community as a whole, or the tribe, or your family.
I would hope that my grandkids remember me. I hope that I am remembered for the fun things like horses.
Mm-hmm.
And remember her 60th birthday? We went on a girls' tour and we went to see all these bands from the 80s and 90s. We actually did this. And I guess that I was happy.
That's a good goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that happiness is probably the most important. It's most important, because if you're happy and you feel good about yourself, then you're probably doing something right.
What haven't I asked you that I should have asked you?
Oh, heck.
What stories in there that we haven't gotten to that you want to share?
I'll probably think of something in 15
Everybody
minutes.
does. Everybody after this, just about everybody's coming. I should have said this. I should have said this, and it's all right.
Yeah.
You don't have to come up with it now. But I don't know if there's anything that is like, how come he hasn't asked me about this?
I don't know. I think that you have been fairly thorough. I don't know. I have 5 grandkids.
5 now?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, that's just like this accomplishment to me. Like, I thought I'd never have them.
Yeah, now you got 5.
And I've got 5. Yeah, I'll probably not have any more, but
Well, 5's a good number.
5's really
That'll
good.
keep Grandma busy.
Yeah, my oldest is 12.
Yeah.
Enza's 12. Ads is 10. Carver's 10. Lolana is 8, and Azita is 5. She just turned 5.
Nice.
Yeah, and I have my three of them are donor babies. They have the same-sex moms, or they have they have 2 moms.
Okay.
And I think that to me is a point of pride, because I feel like I've raised some really good boys because they were willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they brought, they gave me 2 daughters-in-law that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And of course they're bonus. And Ted's married, and I absolutely love my daughter-in-law. So I really, life is good when you don't have to worry about things like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm never going to have to take care of my grandkids because they have wonderful parents. Success. There we go. Success.
Success?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy grandkids, happy kids.
Yeah.
Success.
Good job, Mom.
Thank you. And that's what's important.
Yeah. I think with you, if you lead with family, that's a good place to lead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The rest is ancillary to having a good family.
Right. Yeah.
The rest pays the bills, but family's still where it's at.
Right. Yeah, family first. That's our motto at CIA too, is a family first. We're family friendly, kid friendly, dog friendly. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me, Harriet.
Thank you for asking me. This
This
was
has been-
painless.
Well, I hope it's. I like to keep it painless.
Yeah.
I just
Painless.
I enjoy these. It's fun to get to know people that pretty much everybody I've had on here I've known for decades, and every time I find out, I learn more about them
Right.
that I haven't known besides knowing people for decades.
There's some people that I didn't know for decades. It's funny how, I've known you for decades, but you know somebody else that I don't know, and you've known them for decades?
Yeah.
I'm suspicious.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll have to ask you about a couple of the people that you've had.
I can give there's a couple that I haven't known for decades, but most of them it's been for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good thing. You're doing a good thing. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks,
And,
Sam.
Yeah, and Sam's doing the video and stuff today, but there's no way I could do this without Sam and Marty.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way this would have gotten off the ground without their help.
Teamwork.
And Chris Labert too. When Sam knows the story, the first one I tried to do, we ended up with no audio. We had video, but no audio. I tried to do it all by myself because that was the original plan, just lean, mean. And so I texted Sam, and he's like, "Are you at home?" Like, "Yep, I'm on my way." He came, and then I saw Chris Labert in the store, and I told him, because he's a professional sound guy, I was like, "Chris, just let me know the next time you're doing one." And he said, "Oh." So him and Sam both were there. I had very highly trained staff on that one, and everything went very, very well, and it's gone very well since then.
Yeah.
So I realized my limitations and bring in professional help to cover that for me.
And we're lucky to have people
We're
like
lucky to
Sam.
have people like that. Yeah. And that they keep showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm extremely grateful for that, and very lucky to have people like that are willing to indulge me in my crazy ideas like this.
Are you two the same age?
I was his sister was my age. He was a couple years behind me in school, but we were scouts and everything together. His dad was our scoutmaster when we went to National Jamboree in 1985.
Oh, wow.
And that year, that was I think the year that I finished up everything because I got my Eagle Scout in '86, and I remember when that winter between '85 and '86, Steve called me into the office at school, and he said, "Doug, I'm taking this other job in Juneau," and he says, you need to finish everything for your Eagle Scout badge, because you need to have your badge before I leave for Juneau. I think it was July 6th. We had the Court of Honor in the Tribal House because Carl Heinmiller. So in the parade grounds there, we had it in the Tribal House. Mm-hmm. First time I ever had an eagle. We had the headdress, blanket, and everything for me. It was a very Tlingit. Probably I might be the only Tlingit themed Court of Honor for an Eagle Scout.
Oh, wow.
I still got the pictures, but I was like, I have no idea what all this stuff was about, but it felt amazing. Mm-hmm. Just anytime you put on a Tlingit blanket, it's like, But McFeeters got on the ferry the next day, and Steve was giving me a bad time. He said, "You cut this awful close, Doug. You cut this awful close." But that was kind of a win. So fast forward, so that was July of '86. And then early 2000s, after I'd been going to gold medal for a few years, Charlie Williams calls me up. He goes, "Doug, I'm having a party for my brother." And he says, the team needs to have Tlingit names. We need to give them all names, you included. And he says, "I'm having a party for my brother this fall. Give me everybody's." So I gave him contact info. I said, "Okay." Later that day, the next day, John Katzek comes in. And I tell him what Charlie just told me. He goes, "No, not acceptable. That's not happening." Well, I just told him that I was going to do this. It's going to be his brother. He goes, "You're not getting a Hoona name. You're getting my dad's adopting you." I said, "I didn't." He goes, "No, my dad's going to adopt you." I said, "Well, he hasn't told me that, John." He goes, "He's told me." He says, "This time, meet me up at their house." As you go up there and talk to Tomcat, and he laid out, and he goes, "Nope, we're going to do." So I called Charlie. He said, "Charlie, I can't have you give me a name." He goes, "Why not?" I said, "Tomcat, not a problem, Doug. I'd be very happy if Tom wants to give you your name at my brother's party." And so,
oh, wonderful.
So it's a Raven, but having that first experience with the blankets and that, and then when Tom gave me a sealskin vest that had the embroidered Raven on the back and everything, it was like, okay, this is kind of a full circle moment here, and
right,
kind of foreshadowing a little bit with what Carl Heinmiller was doing with having us do the Chilkat dancing at Jamboree and stuff like that. So, but that was a very proud day when Tom gave me my name.
I'll bet. Yeah.
So, especially with there's a lot of Tlingit elders that I looked up to when I was a kid, but Tom's one that really stood out. Just I don't know, because it might have been just because he was at the store all the time, and then when I moved back, the number of things I was doing with his kids and hanging out at his house and Ruth's house in Cluckwan and stuff. I think that probably played a part in that as well. But yeah, Tom was a special guy.
I agree. Yeah, his dad was as well. I don't remember his dad, but I heard stories from my dad about his dad, and I think that there's definitely a ribbon of good that went through that family.
Yes. Yep. Yep. So with that, we'll call it an evening. Thanks again, Harriet. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.